last Parsha ended with a cliffhanger. Right? Did you see the end of the Parsha? That the Joseph's brothers, remember, came down to Egypt. They were looking to buy some food. They bought food and money.
Found in their sacks.
Correct.
After they bought the food.
Well, it's not exactly after they bought the food. It's after one brother in Egypt found the money, and the rest of the brothers found it in Eretz Yisrael. They tell their father said, uh-oh. That's not a biblical quote, but he realized that this is going to be a problem. Later on, and Joseph said when they left, when you come back, bring your youngest brother, Benjamin, bring him here. So Yaakov says to them, now go back and buy some more food. And they say, we can't do that. Why not? Because the guy told us that if we want to buy food, we have to bring Benjamin. Otherwise, we would be considered spies, and we would be thrown in jail. So Yaakov said, why did you tell him that you had a younger brother? And they did this. Well, how are we supposed to know that, he was going to tell us to bring our youngest brother? So there's a back and forth with Reuven and Yehuda with Yaakov. And the decision was to let them take Binyamin and the brothers, all of them, go down to Egypt. They get to where Yosef is, and they take him to his house. Right? Shimon is in prison. Well, he's not in prison. He's held back. Because what happened was when they were accused of spies, they were all thrown in jail for 3 days. And then he lets all of them go except one. And then they had the money and the whole thing. And because Yaakov says to them, first we lost Yosef, now I lost Shimon, and now you want to take Binyamin, I'm going to lose Binyamin. We can't run the world without Binyamin. So it's a very, very interesting situation. So they go back. They're immediately led to Joseph's house. And the brothers realize that this isn't a good sign. It's not a good sign. They're probably going to arrest all of them, throw them in jail, harm them somehow. And they explain that they brought the money back, that they discovered the money and they were bringing the money back. They didn't know anything about it. And the guard was just, don't worry, everything's fine, just go in the house. And then Yosef comes, they give him the gifts that Yaakov sent him. They have a nice meal. And as they part, Yosef hid his chalice, right, his Kiddush cup, in one of the bags of the brothers, Binyamin's bag. And they are on their way. And then he sends someone to pursue them and to say, stop! Somebody stole the cup of Joseph, of the king, of the vice regent to the king. They start searching from the oldest to the youngest. And the brothers said, there's no way that we stole. And whoever stole deserves death. So they all dig, and they find in Binyamin's sack, they find the chalice. And they go back to the house, and they said to him, why does my Lord say such things? It would be sacrilegious for your servants to do such a thing. Here, look, the money that we found in the mouth of the sacks we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. How then could we have stolen from your master's house any silver or gold? Anyone among your servants, which is us, whom it is found, shall die. And we also will become slaves to my Lord. So, two things. Whoever stole deserves death, and the rest of us are going to become slaves. And fine, they get to the house, right? When Judah arrived with his brothers to Joseph's house, They fell, they said to them, what is this deed that you have done? Do you not realize that a man like me practices divination? Like, I knew you people could do this. So Judah said, what can we say to my Lord? How can we speak? We are ready to be slaves to my Lord. So look at what Joseph says to them. It would be sacrilegious for me to do this. The man in whose possession the goblet was found, only he shall be my slave. As for you, go up in peace to your father. That's our cliffhanger. That's how the Parsha ended on Shabbos. That's how it ended. Just a question. Why did Yosef put the money back in the bags? He knew, he was afraid that the possibility for them coming back to get Shimon, he wasn't sure that they would come back for him. Because Yaakov didn't say to them, go back and get Shimon. But he knew that the brothers would never keep anything that is gezel, that is theft. For sure, they would bring the money back.
Why would you assume they won't go back for Shimon?
They didn't. Because he knew that his father would say to them, Joseph is gone, now Shimon is gone, now you want to bring Binyamin back? So he says, but what they will do is, for the money, they will come back. Because it's not their money, and they would be moser nefesh to bring the money back. So he puts just imagine these brothers. Just imagine the brothers, right? They say there's no way any of us would have stolen it. There's no way. Right? And if anyone would steal it, they would hide it where? Not in their own sack, in someone else's sack. Right? That's why he put it in Benjamin's sack. Because Benjamin knew he didn't steal it. And he would know that the brothers would all think at one another, wait a minute, I know I didn't take it. Maybe you took it. He wanted to see what is the relationship of the brothers when push comes to shove. So look at the discussion. So then Judah approached him and said, so Judah, Vayigash, right? He approached Yosef. He says, if you please, my Lord, may your servant speak a word in my Lord's ear, and let not your anger flare up at your servant. For you are like Pharaoh. Right? Next Parsha. So he says, don't be angry. He says, my Lord has asked his servant, saying, if you have a father or brother. And what he's trying to tell him, that we didn't lie. We don't lie. We are people who live the truth. We don't lie. We don't cut corners. Nope. So you asked us if we have fathers or brothers. We told you that we have brothers. And we told the whole story he goes through. And we promised our father that if he gives us Benjamin to bring him to Egypt, we would be responsible for him. Right? That's what it says. And it says, Vayaki oto ki en anar. Right? So he says it towards the end. Now therefore, please let your servants remain instead of your youth. He says, take me. And let Binyamin go. I will stay.
Judah says it.
Yes. Judah says, I will stay.
He's one of the brothers?
Because he says, yes. He says, for how can I go up to my father if the youth is not with me? Lest I see the evil that will befall my father. He says, I can't do this to my father. I can't. I can't cause pain to my father. Keep me and send Binyamin back. Right? And you see that Judah is saying to Yosef, I'm a much better slave than Binyamin. Much better slave than Binyamin. And here really there's a very, very interesting situation here. Because think about this. What's happening? Just imagine an American traveling to, I don't know, Thailand, and gets arrested for drug possession. Okay? They bring him to court, and he says, they say, the punishment is, let's say, 30 years in prison. And his brother says, listen, take me instead, and I will, because this is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. See, because the whole discussion of Yehuda here, he's telling him this. He says, listen, this doesn't work this way. We're willing to pay money. You could take me. And it doesn't make any sense. Why is Yehuda telling his brother, according to the Midrash, that according to Jewish law, if a slave, right? How does a person become a slave in Jewish law? Do you know? Theft. Right. If a Jew who has no money steals something, he becomes a slave. He is sold by the Beis Din as a slave, and the money is repaid to the guy who he stole from. Okay? Now, what Yosef is saying, Egyptian law is that if you steal, you become a slave. Yehuda says, according to Jewish law, if you can pay, you pay. If you can't pay, you become a slave. Right? So the argument is, judge him according to Jewish law, not according to Egyptian law. But that doesn't work. Imagine an American in Thailand who said, listen, according to American law, this is just a misdemeanor. I'd be given a ticket and not go. It's like, guess what? You're not in America. So what's going on? It doesn't make any sense here. So the idea, some of the Mefarshim say, is like this. Yehuda says, when a thief steals and has money, you don't want such a person in your house. When somebody steals and he can afford to pay for what he steals, that person you don't want in your house. A person who steals who has no money to pay, that type of a person you do want in your house. Because he's stealing because he's got nothing else. He's not an evil person. Whereas a person who has money who is stealing, that person is just a bad person.
He just likes stealing.
Correct. So Yehuda is telling Yosef, you want a slave, I get it, you want a slave. We can pay. Don't you think Binyamin stole? He can pay. You don't want him in his house. Let him go. And if you say, well, okay, but I still want a slave, then he says, then take me. I will be your slave. I am the greatest warrior of all the brothers. And I am the sign of kingship. So I am the one. Take me. Okay. Joseph sees this, and look at what it says. Joseph could not restrain himself in the presence of all who stood before him. So he called out, remove everyone from before me. Everybody out. Everybody out. Except obviously the brothers. And he cried in a loud voice. Look at what the verse says. Egypt heard, and Pharaoh's household heard. What does that mean? So he says that this cry affected not only Joseph's house, but also Pharaoh and the entire country. And Joseph says to his brothers, you have to read this in Hebrew, Ani Yosef, I am Yosef, Ha'od Avichai, is my father still alive? And it says, his brothers could not answer him because they were left disconcerted before him. They could just imagine the scene. They were shot, yeah. This Egyptian guy is yelling at them in Egyptian, threatened his brother, he arrested one brother, now he wanted to take this brother. they find money in their bags, and then the chalice, the goblet, and all of a sudden the guy opens his mouth speaking what? Hebrew, saying, Ani Yosef. And they're like, it's crazy. And then we see that Yosef says to his brothers, come close to me if you please. And they came close. And he said, I am Yosef, your brother. It is me whom you sold into Egypt. It is me. Ani Yosef achichem asher machartem oti mitzrayma. Yes. And then he says to them, and now be not distressed, nor reproach yourselves for having sold me here. For it was to be a provider that God sent me ahead of you. He says to them, don't worry that you think you caused me and I'm going to now get you. Everything was from Hashem. Elohim, right? God established that this should happen so I could be here to provide food for you. And he continues and he says this, thus God has sent me ahead of you to ensure your survival in the land and to sustain you for a momentous deliverance. And now it was not you who sent me here, but God. You see, Joseph is known for a person who has the fear of heaven. Okay.